Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. And before we get into it with our guests here today, I'd like to remind everyone that if you enjoy this content, to please give a like and subscribe down below. I'd greatly appreciate it. We have Jenny Melin coming to us all the way from Sweden, which is, I think she's our second or third guest from Sweden on it. It's nice to have some more, Scandinavian countries represented. I just had another one with a guest from Finland, so that's always nice. But she's a bodybuilder, if you couldn't tell just from looking at her. I mean, some of these guests, it's hard to tell, but she's one of those where it's like it's not that hard to really tell just by looking at her that she's a bodybuilder. But she's on here to share her health and fitness journey with us, and yeah, just talk all things health and fitness. But most importantly, she's our current guest. Jenny, thank you so much for coming on.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, I always love to start this thing off. What is the weather like today in Sweden?
Um, Actually, last week we had butterflies in our stomachs because the sun was coming out and the snow was slowly melting away. But today, unfortunately, when I woke up, there was like a storm and some snow. So I guess we're back to square one.
Yeah, it was the same thing with us exactly last week where we thought it was going to warm up a little bit, and now it's back down to like the 20s again, which that's Fahrenheit. I got to make sure that I say that for all the European guests because they're like, oh, 20 degrees, that seems warm. And it's like, no, it's not. But before we get into all that, and I just depress everyone listening to this podcast, why don't you start off by just giving us your backstory on what inspired and motivated you to start working out and how you eventually turned that into becoming a bodybuilder?
Well, I always loved to train, and since I was a kid, all parents want their kids to do some activities and not just sit around. And my parents wanted me to do some gymnastics. So I started doing the gymnastics when I was like, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7. It was just for fun. We were playing these games and we were running and throwing balls, and it was fun. And when I got a little older, I followed my dad to, I don't know the word for this sport, but you have a map and a compass and you run around in the forest looking for things. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Yeah.
It sounds
Um,
a little familiar, but I also don't know the name of it too. Yeah.
no, okay. I don't know. Is it a Scandinavian thing? I don't know. Yeah. But um I was scared of doing it alone. I was scared that I would disappear in the forest or get eaten by a bear or something. So it wasn't for me. But the running part was very fun, and I uh, I found out that I was good at running, and I'm a small girl, but I'm quick, and I'm quite um, I'm a good runner. So, and then in school, my gymnastics teacher, they thought that I should try the track and field for fun. Uh, and so it ended up being I was representing the Sweden national team in the track and field. I did 100 and the 200 meters, and that was a lot of fun. So that's how I started. And when you do the track and field, you also go to the gym and you do squats and you do some bench press, and yeah, you do the heavy lifting as well. Um, and I fell in love with the sport when I got injured and I couldn't do the running anymore. So I shifted to the weightlifting part, and I found out that I was good at that too. So that's why I continued doing it. It was really really fun, and I love strong women that could take care of themselves and lift heavy stuff. Is very cool.
Absolutely. And what was that like for you and your body? I mean, going from one extreme, which is the track and field look, which is a little bit more of a skinnier look and a little bit more of that, and now you're going to a bodybuilding. What was that transformation like for you? Because I mean, you're going from two separate body types, basically.
Yeah, I was really skinny. I didn't have a lot of muscles. I had good legs since I've done all the running, but I was really really skinny on my upper body. So um, it was a challenge to start like feeling the connection with the weightlifting in my shoulders and on my back and everything. It was hard to find the muscle connection, um, but I my body started to change, and I really liked it because I don't want to be skinny. I think that women should look like women. Should have muscles and feel strong and be independent.
Well, one of the biggest myths that we deal with on this podcast, and it's gotten better the last 5 years due to Instagram, is that there are unfortunately still a lot of women that have that fear that if they walk into the gym and they even look at one dumbbell, they're going to put on 50 pounds of muscle overnight. How do you like to respond to that? Because I bet you still hear that all the time.
Yeah, I do. And I would like to quote Arnold when people said, "Oh my God, I don't want to look like you. Don't worry, you never will."
Oh, and if you do, she'll hire you as her personal trainer then, basically.
Yeah, you don't need to be afraid. I've done this for 2012, I think, and um, I still look like a girl. So
Well, one thing that I've noticed just from scrolling through your Instagram and everything, you have put on a lot of size and a lot of mass in this last year alone. How have you changed things up with your training to do that? Because, like, if you look at some of the photos from before to after, I mean, that change has been very drastic. Like, you have done a lot of hard work and it's definitely showed.
people think that it's the training part that's the hard part, but actually it's not. Going to the gym is the easy part. I've changed in the way that I eat. I eat a lot of food. I eat a lot of good food, and I don't feel. I don't rush. I don't have a desire to get as big as possible as fast as possible. So since my last competition, 2019, I put on a lot of quality because of my eating and that I love doing what I do. It should be fun to go to the gym, and I love it. And the first thing that pops up in my head when I wake up is today I'm gonna do legs. And the last thing that I think about when I go to sleep is, oh, tomorrow I'm gonna do arms, because I love it.
And we talk about a lot of times here, like the reaction that bodybuilders get in the States here, which is, I think, a little bit different than they get in Sweden. But what is the overall vibe like when it comes towards women with muscles in Sweden? I think it might be a little bit different than it is here in the United States.
I don't know how people look at it in the United States. Would you like to enlighten me?
Oh, it's I from stories that I've heard, it's a little bit more tolerant. Like they're a little bit more like fascinated by it and stuff like. Whereas in Sweden, it's a little bit like it's a little bit where it's people are just fascinated by it, but it doesn't seem to have the support that it has in the United States a lot of times.
Maybe that's true. I don't know. I haven't met a lot of people that uh, don't support it. My family support it, and my friends, and I love it. So I don't really care what people think. But sometimes I hear from the older generation that girls maybe shouldn't do what I do or look the way I look. But hey, granny, times change.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's just because us as Americans have a propensity to sort of be a little bit more in your face about things that I think people sometimes know what our opinions and our feelings are a little bit more than other things. I mean, like I said, I'm mainly Norwegian, so I still have relatives from Norway that we talk to, and they're a little bit more conservative when it comes to like they hide their emotions a lot more. I think that might be a little bit more of a Scandinavian trait than as Americans, where we're gonna come right up to you and tell you what we feel basically, like, and it's like, yeah, just deal with it. So yeah.
Yeah. Swedish people are more conservative. They don't say so much. Maybe they will talk behind your back, and um, I got the feeling that, like you say, that Americans are more forward, and if they like something, they will let you know. And in Sweden, it's the Swedish jealousy, if you've heard of it. Yeah. Yeah. you feel like you're putting yourself down while trying to lift someone up, but it's not the case. You know, you can never push yourself down by trying to lift someone else. You should, if you like what you see, you should just go to them and tell them, because it will make them very happy.
Yeah, just like when I told her, one of the first thing I messaged her was like, "By the way, you have an absolute phenomenal back and stuff like that, and I need to find out some of your secrets about that." So, yeah, I just let my feelings know. But like you said with the nutrition, I mean, it's such an important thing. And what were some of the big nutritional changes that you made this last year in order to put on so much more size?
Um, I let go of some pizza, to be honest. I love fast food. I love candy. I love crisps, everything. Um, but I noticed that it's just empty calories. It is. It's tasty, and you can do it on the Fridays and Saturdays, but you can't do it if you have a goal. And my goal is to build muscle. So I changed that. So I've been eating more and eating more clean and taking care of myself. And yeah, I'm feeling absolutely fantastic. So I guess that's the big reason to why um, the training is going well, because I'm mentally at a good place.
And I mean, there's so many myths about this sport by just the general public and really in general. And I mean, for male bodybuilding, there's enough myths as it is, but for females, I mean, that adds on, like times 100. But what would you say is probably some of the biggest myths that you hear from people that just aren't familiar with the sport? Because we hear stuff like that all the time.
Mrs. Like what?
Like misconceptions, like things that people believe that aren't true about the sport.
That we only eat chicken and rice
Yep.
and broccoli, and we do nothing else, maybe. Well, we do eat a lot of chicken and rice and broccoli, actually, but um, we have a life outside of the gym, or at least I do. And maybe the misconception is that we don't live and don't do anything else than just train, 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 and we can't do this and that, and we can't be with our friends and families because we have to train. And maybe that's the reality for some people, but it's it's important to have like a equal, that you can you can have a personal life and be happy and have friends and family and go out to restaurants and do things that you love, and also do this bodybuilding sport.
Are there any like traditional Swedish meals that go along with the bodybuilding lifestyle, or is it basically like you said, just the chicken and rice, and then you'll eat other things?
Meatballs.
I was gonna say, I was about to say that, but like, yeah, the Norwegian side of me with the left side and the lutefisk, I was like, I don't know if that's the best thing really to have as a bodybuilder. But yeah, I totally forgot about Swedish meatballs, and yeah, that definitely seems to be like the one thing that would really go along with it. But you mentioned your friends and family, and what was their general reaction like when you first announced them, like, hey, I want to be a bodybuilder? Because that's not something that a lot of people hear of.
Well, I haven't like said it out loud that I want to be a bodybuilder.
They can tell by looking at you. Let's be honest.
I guess. My family's very supportive. My dad, he also do the weightlifting training, and I meet him at the gym all the time, and I say, "Hello, Dad," and he's like, "Hello, daughter." So he's into it, and but he's old, and he tries to take care of himself, and I really appreciate him trying his best, because I think it's important to move around as you get older. And my mother, she's very supportive, because she thinks I'm beautiful either way, because I'm her daughter. But sometimes when I get into competition shape, she says that, well, maybe you should stop now. It's enough now. But that's because uh, the body's changing, because she loves me. She loves the look of my body when I'm off season, and she thinks it gets a bit extreme when I'm dieting, and I can see that, because it's cool to be lean, but it's not something that you can do and hold on to in the long run.
Yeah, your mom tells you you're beautiful. You're Swedish. That means you're beautiful by default. I mean, come on. I had a friend who in college he went to Malmo and for a semester, and I texted him. I was like, "Is it really true what they say about Swedish girls?" And he's like, "Every single one of them." And I was just like, "Okay, come on. That's just not even fair right there." But I mean, and that's great to have that family sport though too, because that's awesome. That means the world to so many people. But I I I'm a fan of tattoos. I've never got one myself, but I can see on your left arm you have some tattoos. What's the story behind those tattoos? I love to hear tattoo stories.
Well, I actually I just got one, and I got it when I was 18. It's a geisha
Oh, okay.
with some cherry blossoms. I had a boyfriend when I was 16, and he loved this Japanese stuff. And I really he had a lot of tattoos with some Japanese theme, and I thought it looked cute and good, so I wanted one. So I got this one when I was 18. I got it in Stockholm um, by a tattooist that came from Japan. He was in Sweden for a week, so I got to make him do my tattoo. So it doesn't mean anything, and I just think it's cute.
Yeah. No, yeah, it is, and it definitely yeah, it helps. So, have you found that the tattoo that because like one thing that I find funny about bodybuilders in particular is like if they do get a tattoo before they start their lifestyle, and then as they get bigger and bigger, the tattoo sometimes does not end up looking like the way that it was meant to, because as you get bigger and bigger, your skin can kind of get a little bit longer and stretchier and harder. So then the tattoo kind of, or as it stayed somewhat the same, or as you've gotten bigger and stronger, do you think that the tattoos got extended a little bit?
Well, she's definitely gained like 25 pounds. No,
Yeah,
just kidding.
yeah, no,
No,
but
she
yeah.
still looks good.
Oh, absolutely. Like I had one guy who he did it right before compete, and the tattoo literally just went from like this to like that because he got on his back too. I was like, okay, if there's one spot, you don't get on your back because then like as you get bigger, it's just never ending. But I mean, I love to talk genetics on this podcast because everybody and their brother is on Instagram, and I hear this all the time. Oh my god, I want his arms, I want her back, I want their abs, and it's just like I just want to strangle them because it's like you can work out just like someone and you can eat just like them and you are not going to get the same results as them. But on top of that, whenever you first get started working out, everyone always has that one body part that really, really takes off that they don't have to train as much. And then everyone has that one body part that just drags behind it. They have to train to oblivion to catch up. What was one body part that really, really took off for you? And then what was one body part that you've just had to drag behind you to catch up?
Well, I've always loved doing the deadlifts, so my back came naturally. Um, I never thought about like training back and that I wanted a big juicy back. I just love doing the deadlifts and the rows and everything and the chins, and so my back grew, and so I don't see that often because it's in my back. But when people are taking pictures and making videos, I'm like, oh, is that me? Is that really me? Are you sure? Do I look like that? I had no idea. So people coming to me and saying, "Wow, you have an amazing back." Well, thank you. I didn't know that. To be honest, I didn't know that. And something that was dragging my triceps. They are not good. I'm working on them. I'm trying. And my calves, they are not good either. But it would be a shame to be finished already. I have something to work on, and I'm looking forward the off season to continue working on them, get better.
Absolutely, and I hate calves myself. I mean, that's the most genetic body part of all time. You're either born with them or you're born without them. I could do 10,000 calf raises every day, and
Yeah.
they wouldn't grow. I'm 6'3", so my legs and my lower body are just the one area that's just shot for me. Where I mean, like I could train them into oblivion. But yeah, I mean, like you mentioned back, and you posted that one video, that form check video of yours, where you're in the mirror looking at your back, and that's like one of the top 5 backs I've ever seen. So that's definitely one thing that's really really taken off for you. But one part about this lifestyle that most people don't understand is that it's just such more of a mental sport than it is a physical sport. And I mean, for all the physical changes that happen, and unfortunately, that's basically the one thing that a lot of people are going to notice because they're just going to see you and be like, "Oh, Jenny, you look amazing," but they're not going to realize sort of the physical change that or the mental change that's happened as well, and that's 100 times more important than any physical change. What has this whole journey been like for you mentally?
Um, right now, I'm doing a competition dieting. Of course. I'm gonna do the Sweden Grand Prix in 3 weeks. Today it's 3 weeks. And I've been dieting since August last year. Um, and the dieting has never been so easy because I've had a lot of time to do it slowly, slowly dropping the calories, slowly getting down in weight, and so the mentally it's been really it's been a bliss this time. The other the other competition that I've done, I've been in a rush and thought that I could do it in, I don't know, 16 weeks, and I couldn't, obviously. So I was angry and I was sad and I was depressed because I didn't eat anything. And now I'm still at 2000 plus calories and I have 3 weeks to go. So um, I'm doing great. I'm feeling great. Sometimes I'm tired, of course, but um, yeah, I'm really happy with this dieting, and I have a lot to thank for my coach, Jonathan. He's helped me so much, and without him, it would be I wouldn't be where I am right now.
So let me get this straight. By the time you go to your competition, you will have been on a diet for basically 8 months.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? Because we've had some guests who they do a 4 month diet and they can't even handle that.
Well, I started out at I think I started at 3,500 calories in August, and that's a lot for a small girl like me because I'm not a big girl. I'm only 1.57 centimeters. Um, so and what was the question? I forgot.
How do you deal with that doing that for 8 months? Because like I said, there've been guests on here that
Yeah,
have done it for half the time and they struggle so much with it.
yeah, because I've had a lot of food to eat, so I was never hungry. And the training was doing I was doing great at the gym and everything was fun and I was feeling good and I was happy. So um and I honestly I've only eaten um 2 meals in this 8 months that I've had. That's not like dieting food, and that was for Christmas in December. I asked my coach if I could have some Christmas food, and he said yes. And I ate some cookies at my birthday in March, and that's the only two times when I had something else in the food that I was given on my schedule. And I could have asked him before if I could have something else, but I didn't feel the need to be honest. Yeah,
What did you have for Christmas?
a lot of Swedish Christmas food. Uh, some fish. It's called sill and potatoes. Meatballs, of course, sausages. Yeah, all kind of stuff. A lot of chocolate and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have relatives from Norway who they come over before COVID. They were coming over once a year and they'd bring all the chocolate with them, and we would just, oh yeah, that Scandinavian chocolate is really to die for. And if anyone doubts it, go and order some online. It is really the best. So you got me drooling even thinking about that stuff right now. But I mean, another part about this lifestyle that isn't talked about as much as it should be is posing. And for so many people, they don't understand that posing is the hardest thing for most of these athletes that I have on. It's harder than nutrition. It's harder than working out. What has been your journey like with the posing aspect of this sport?
I hate posing. I've had my friend Linda. She is telling me all the time that you need to focus on your posing. You need to include it in your training because it's so much. It's so important for your appearance stage. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, I'm gonna do it tomorrow. I'm gonna do it tomorrow. I never do. I have 3 weeks to go, and I still haven't done anything for my routine in the women's physique. To be honest, I think I just go up there and do something. It will be okay.
That is, I mean, that is one thing that just I mean, there's an aspect to the sport that I mean most people don't understand, and that's the posing aspect. But out of your poses that you do, what is your favorite pose and what is your least favorite pose?
Um, my least favorite pose is the poses from the side poses. It's hard. I feel like I'm not flexible enough to turn my torso and get the arm and everything to make it look good. And my favorite is it's my back pose because yeah I love what I see.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, you get to put your smile down too. That's another thing where you don't got to be, squinching that. I mean, because your jaw muscle is some of the most sore things after this show. But I mean, you competed in one show prior to this. What was that experience like for you stepping on stage for that first time? Because for so many people, I mean, it's just seeing someone up on stage in a bikini. I mean, that takes a lot of guts to do. So, what was that like for you that first time you did it?
Um, I oh god, it was a really long time ago. It was 2016. I barely can't remember it. The closer I get to the competition, the less nervous I get because I get a lot more hungry. I've never been that nervous, and I saw these girls go up on stage, and the one thing that I could think of was that, oh my god, they are really good at walking in heels, and I can't walk in heels. I hate heels. I only use the Converse, uh, and I have flat shoes. Um, so the thing that I'm most worried about is walking in heels, to be honest. But I can't remember if I was that nervous. Maybe I was, but I can't remember. I'm just looking forward to it now because I want to eat afterwards.
What is the one meal you're looking forward to most having after you step off that stage?
It would be so good with a big some big meat or and some sauce and maybe a burger or a pizza or yeah something like that or Swedish meatballs. You can never go wrong with the Swedish meatballs if you've done it yourself.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. I have had a few in my lifetime and they are, yes, they are very, very good. But I mean, I also like to talk about post show blues because most people don't understand that that look that you present on stage, it's not sustainable. You're not going to look like that 24/7, unfortunately. What has that been like for you? I mean, first off, when you first found out about it, and has it gotten easier for you to accept the fact that, like, hey, no matter how hard I train and look, I'm not going to be able to maintain that look? Has it gotten easier for you to accept that as your career in this sport has gone on?
Um, I prefer my off-season shape, and I think that most people that are doing this, they have some sort of complicated relationship to food and training. And I don't, to be honest, I don't. I love food and I love putting on weight because I get strong. I get so much more energy. I feel pretty. I feel feminine. So uh, pounding on the kilograms again, it's not a problem for me. I rather look like the old me than the competition Jenny. Yeah.
Absolutely. I like to compare it sort of like to starting your own business too, where you got to spend money to make money. You got to put on weight if you want to put on muscle. I mean, unfortunately, those two do go hand in hand. But I hate cardio more than life itself. I'm just being completely honest. I absolutely hate it. And when I say cardio, I mean like actual running. I can walk for forever, but you have that background in track and field. So what is that relationship like with cardio now that you're in a sport that does require cardio, but obviously you're not going to be doing the amount of cardio that you did when you're in track and field?
Yeah, I hate cardio. I'm done with it. I've done a lot of running through my years of track and field, so I feel like I'm done. So I do some bicycling at the gym, and I recently started to do the Stairmaster 30 minutes after the gym, and I'm I'm really enjoying it because you get to sweat, but you don't have that tachycardia. You can go on for a long time, and I really enjoy it. I put my headphones on and I watch YouTube or listen to music, and 30 minutes they go past very quickly. But in the general, I don't enjoy cardio. I do have a dog, so I'm out and about all the time with him. And if you want to call that cardio, I don't know, but we are walking like 15,000 to 20,000 steps a day, even if I'm not competing. So yeah, that's how um, I s- I stay in shape and don't. If I hadn't have had Elvis, I would probably look like the people at the 600-pound live show, with Dr. Now. Yeah,
Yeah, dogs definitely are their own form of cardio. I'm not gonna lie. I have a little dog ourselves, and yeah, yeah, that is a good motivation to get up and moving. What kind of dog do you have? What breed is it?
he's a mix of Bichon Havanese and some Shih Tzu, and yeah,
Okay, so yours is somewhat like ours. Like we have a Cavachon, which is a Cavalier King Charles mixed with a Bashan.
oh
So,
right, yeah,
yep. It's got the long droopy ears and it's got the droopy ears and the big old eyes. But yeah, that's
yeah.
great. Yeah, that's great. That is awesome. I'm like the biggest dog lover around. I like to include. So you'll be included in my segment that I'm coming up right now. Of whenever we talk about dogs on the podcast, I'm trying to make its own podcast of itself. But I mean, oh, absolutely. Like I've had so many things with dogs. Like it's over like 2 hours long now. So I'm gonna even need to like split up into like different parts now because of all the guests that I've had on and just talking about dogs. But I mean, just the sleep aspect of the sport too is one thing that is almost impossible, especially as you get closer to your show. I mean, your sleep schedule just becomes so bipolar. How do you deal with the fact that a lot of times, and I don't know if this is the same for you, but a lot of the guests that I have on say that like their sleep really does suffer as they get closer to shows.
I sleep like a baby, and I've always done. I work night shifts only at the hospital, so when I get home, I go directly to my bed and I sleep like 6 or 7 hours, and I feel rested and alert. And I don't have problems when I'm off. When I had days off, I can go lie down on my couch and take a nap for 30 minutes if I want to, no problem, and I can still go to sleep at night. And yeah, well, I don't suffer like insomnia or anything. I can really have a good night's sleep and I can rest. I can just relax. So it's not a problem.
That is not the case for me. I can never take naps. I just have that hyperactive side of me where it's like I've taken probably about a dozen naps in my entire life. It's almost impossible for me, but yeah, so I am not blessed like that, but I'm glad that you're able to do that. So working nights, so does that mean when you go to train, is it normally like do you train early in the day or sort of like midday, or where do you like to train most? Because some people that I talk to prefer the morning, others prefer the night. Where do you fall on that?
When I'm working, I usually go to the gym around 3 or 4 at the afternoon. And that's also the time that I prefer when I'm at home. I don't have a lot of energy in the mornings. I'm not a morning person, obviously, since I work the night. But I also feel that I would like to have some meals down before I go to the gym. Yeah, so to get my energy levels on top, and yeah, to maximize the the quality of the training.
Yeah, for me, if I don't have any food, I've tried that a couple of times where I go to work out and it's bad. Like it doesn't you need to have that energy, you need to have that extra added sort of strength that it really gives you 100%. And one of the things that this lifestyle is really bad about is that like they don't make clothes for people that are in shape. Even for guys, they don't make that many clothes. But for women in general, your clothing options are very limited. How do you sort of deal with that? Well, because luckily you're a nurse, so you get to be like in scrubs where you can kind of sort of no matter what size really fit in. But like just for average day and wear, like they do not make that many clothing options, especially for fit women.
Yeah. Um, I'm not really into clothing, to be honest. I like loose fitting clothes, like t-shirts and just jeans. And so I think it's kind of easy to find clothing, but um, I it's happened that I shopped at the guys department to find something that can fit under the arm, especially when I'm heavier. Right now it's more easy, but um, yeah, I guess it could be a problem, but I don't mind,
Yeah,
to be
don't
honest.
invite her to any weddings though, because that's just gonna be a pain in the butt trying to find something to fit then. That's the only problem
Yeah,
about
yeah.
it.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that is, I mean, that's just some of the little things about this lifestyle that most people just do not understand when it comes down to it. But I mean, when it comes down to this lifestyle though too, one thing that I like to talk about is how, especially on the female side of it, like there's so much positivity between a lot of the competitors, and it's sort of like a sisterhood where it's like you have each other's backs. How important is that to you, just knowing that like this is such a tight knit culture, and a lot of people that generally do care about each other, just being a part of this lifestyle where a lot of people are super friendly to each other.
Yeah, I think that's more common in the States because I haven't seen it so much in Sweden. Um, there is again the Swedish jealousy that I talked about earlier. We are thinking about our that the girls that we are competing against, like they are rivals a bit, and maybe you are a bit false if you want to make friends with them. I don't know, but I do have a girl who lives away from me that I've been talking to the last month. She's also doing the women's physique at the same competition, so we are going together, and we are talking every day, supporting each other. I really really appreciate her. She is pushing me forward, and I'm trying my best to push her forward. So I don't. I think it's more common in the States, maybe, that you feel that you belong to a group of girls that could like push each other. Maybe some, not so much in Sweden. I at least I haven't seen it yet. Maybe it's existing, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's one thing. I mean, yeah, I sometimes forget that I'm not talking to an American sometimes, and I'm just like, okay, yeah, but yeah, it's different. I think for other countries though too as well. But that's one thing that I've really found over here. But I mean, it's nice that you have that one friend that you can talk to though, at least, just because, I mean, doing this on your own it's almost impossible, and it's just rough. But I mean, what advice would you have for someone who would walk up to you and be like, "Oh, Jenny, I want to become a bodybuilder myself." What's the best piece of advice that you would give someone just going into this lifestyle?
Go for it. You can do it. You can do it. If you want to, you can do it. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
I'd say, and I'd say also find a coach too. That's the biggest thing. If you don't have a coach, this lifestyle is just, oh god. I've had so many people that have come on and been like, oh yeah, my first prep that I didn't have a coach. I didn't even practice posing. And it's like, oh, you poor thing. Like, how did you manage to get through that?
Well, this is my first time having a coach, to be honest.
And we see the results that have happened. I mean, look at that, everyone. That's the benefits right there. But no, I mean, yeah, it's people. I mean, I have met a handful of people that have been able to do it themselves, and those are the one percenters of the one percenters for sure. But have you always been a physique competitor, or has it been as you've gotten bigger, you've moved up to the physique division?
I've always wanted to look like the girls in the figure division, and I that's the physique that I was chasing all alone, and also when I just did my first show in 2016, that was my goal, and I wouldn't dream about doing the bikini or the wellness because I don't think that it's not suitable for me. And now that I'm looking at myself in the mirror and I see that I've gotten bigger, I don't mind stepping up to the women's physique division because I think they are so beautiful, and the femininity, it doesn't go away as you get bigger because it belongs in your head. You are still a woman and you can be whoever you want to be, even if you have big muscles and everything. So I really love the physique of the figure division, but I wouldn't mind getting pounding on some more muscle.
Absolutely. And I mean, as you like are looking forward to this off season too as well, what are your biggest goals after this show is over? Are you like, so let's say, let's just do a hypothetical. Let's say you win this show. Are you automatically going to do another show then, or are you going to go into your off season?
I don't know. I haven't thought about it. Maybe you should, or maybe I should, but I haven't. My goal. This might sound a little cheesy, but my goal is to compete at a Olympia someday. If it takes me 10 years, fine. If it takes me 5 years, great. But I'm not in a hurry. I will let it take the time that it needs to be. But that's my I'm shooting for the stars and I'm shooting for the Olympia. But in the short run, with the training and everything, I'm really looking forward to um, be strong again. I would like to do 250 kilos at the deadlifts. That's my biggest goal. I'm at the 200 now. I've done 200 a couple of times. So, and I would like to do some heavy squats and some heavy bench. That's my main goal, to be honest. The competition and the dieting and everything, that's just something that comes with it. The training is my main focus and my main priority, and I really love doing that. And building my body is just something that goes hand in hand.
And when it comes down to your training in the off season, do you do all heavy, or do you sort of mix it up and do like some lightweight, or where do you fall on that? Because some people, I mean, everyone does it differently.
Yeah. Um, I would like to say that I mix it up, and sometimes I do, but it depends on the muscle groups that I'm training. I really love going heavy on my back and my legs, and I do some lighter training for my shoulders and the smaller muscle groups. Um, but in the general, I like to go hard or go home.
Hey, that's a good attitude to have. And I would get killed in the comments down below if I didn't ask you, what did you do to get your shoulders to grow so much? Because like every woman that I've talked to, almost all of them, when I ask them like what's one body part that took off and one that didn't, shoulders is the answer, probably the most out of any body part. And so I would get comments down below saying like, why didn't you ask her about her shoulders? Why didn't you ask? I've been trying to grow my shoulders for like 10 years. What do you do for your shoulders to get them to look like that? Because you do have an amazing set of shoulders.
High repetitions with lighter weights, uh, and just do it until it burns, and then do 5 more.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's my biggest, that's my best tips for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, people don't realize that you have to train them a lot more, if you're especially, wanting them to grow. But if someone were to also walk up to you and say, we made the decision, you can change one thing about the sport of bodybuilding in general, and everyone would go along with it, what would be one thing that you'd like to see changed?
Oh, wow. I don't know really. That's a very tough question. I have to think about it.
That's all right. Well, how about I give you my answer and then you can think about while I'm giving you
Yeah,
my answer. Yeah. So
yeah.
for me, one thing that was brought up, obviously, the equal pay thing. Yeah, they should be, paid as much and more money too. Because like, if you're a pro in this sport, I've always said that like you shouldn't have to have like a full time job outside of this sport. Like you should be financially supported enough where like you don't have to have a full time job because this lifestyle is hard enough as it is. And then also with the judging too, where it's like some judges want a little bit more of a leaner look, some want a little bit more of a fuller look. It's hard to gauge sort of where you need to be at, especially as you reach some levels in the sport where it's like, you might be going to a show being the leanest person there, but then they're not looking for the leanest person, and you don't know that. I think that just to make like an overall statement of like this is exactly what we're looking for in all of our shows, and just try your best to be like that, because I think that would solve a lot of things for a lot of people where they're just like, do I compete in the show because I know the judges tend to like a little bit more fuller look, or do I compete in that show? If they just had a general view of where you should look, that would help too, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. It would be a lot easier if you had some steady guidelines that if you want to compete in wellness, this is how you should look. Because all the other sports, like the track and field, you should be the first person over the line to win. And it's very hard to know what the judges want that day. Maybe they want a fuller look, and maybe they want a girl that's more lean, and the next day they want something different. So it's hard to know. Yeah, I totally agree with you. That would be nice if they had some steady guidelines so you can work on the right thing. And yeah,
And this is a question that I've just started asking some people, but this is a question that even I have sometimes as I'm talking to these competitors. Why do you do it? Like I hear so many stories about this lifestyle and how people are just, I mean, it's just an intense lifestyle, and a lot of people in the general public are, they just look at bodybuilders and they're just like, why do they put themselves through it? I mean, like, what's the end goal for that? So I thought that would make a great question. So I bet you've heard this multiple times too, but like, why do you put yourself through this? Like, what's the end goal, and like, what's the reason that you give yourself when you're having those days where you're like, why do I do this?
deep down, I know that I love it. And it's a satisfying feeling to push yourself, and it helps my confidence. The days when I just want to sit in the couch and cry because I'm tired, and you push through, that gives you something back. You start to believe in yourself, and if I can do this, I can do anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always said if you compete in shows and if you do preps, I mean, you really can accomplish anything in life just because that is just such a high bar to set. But I mean, before we wrap things up, is there anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to?
I would like to thank Jonathan, my coach, for everything. And I would also like to thank my family and my friends for helping me and supporting me. And my Instagram like blew up some like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I just recently had like 300 followers, and someone took one of my videos and shared them on TikTok, and that's when people started following me. And I get a lot of private messages from all over the world, and I'm not able to answer everything, but I would like to say thank you to everyone that's starting to following me on Instagram, and thank you so much for all the kind words and the good luck wishes. I really appreciate it, even if I can't answer every message. So I'm yeah, I'm really happy for everything.
Absolutely, and I'll make a post about her on my story as soon as we finish wrapping up here because yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, it's great some of the messages that you get, and it's really, it's a great thing. And yeah, I mean, Jenny, I cannot thank you enough for coming on and sharing your story. I know she was a little nervous before coming on. She's like, "Why do you want to talk to me?" and stuff like that. And I was like, "Well, first of all, look in the damn mirror if you want to understand why I'm talking to you. And second of all, it's like, yeah, you have a bright future in the sport, and honestly, I do think the Olympia is in your future. Like she understates. Like I'll have some photos when she's talking about put up on here of like her physique, and it is incredible. So yeah, everyone go and check her out. Buy RB Wear. You will get inspired to get off that couch and stop eating all those Twinkies. But again, Jenny, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your journey. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. And this is Ryan Johnson, DD on the spot, signing off. Have a great day, everyone.